Hey guys, so in today's video I'm going to give my review of the Minolta Rokkor 45mm lens. It's a manual f2 lens. That's one of the things I really like about the Sony cameras, that you can stick on older manual lenses on top of it. So I'm just going to go over a few different shooting scenarios, show a few example images and just give my thoughts on how I think it performs. It's quite a cheap lens you can pick up on eBay for like $40, somewhere around $40 to $100, around that range, so it's not that expensive. So in this shot here I'm just taking a few photos of the ducks here on the pond. There's a few leaves and stuff on the water. I thought it looks quite nice. So this is the first few shots, and as you can see it's quite a sharp image you get. So you can see the duck and the surrounding leaves is really sharp, but it's a nice blur off into the background. That was the first thing I noticed when I first used this lens, is how sharp it is. It's one of the sharpest lenses I've actually used. So this next shot here is a good example of the sharpness you'll see in the example photos. But here I'm just using the zoom in function of the Sony a7 Mark II here, where you can just do a quick crop in just to get a good sharp focus. So I'm just moving the focus wheel back and forth just to get a nice sharpness. And there's also that peaking colour pops up, which is red, which tells me that that's in focus. But I like to also zoom in just to make sure that it's completely sharp. So you can see there it's really tack sharp, and it's a nice blurred off background. I really like the bokeh on this lens as well. It's a nice velvety feel to it, but you can pick up every single spike there. It's really sharp. So this next scene I thought would make an interesting composition. This is a shared library type initiative, and the books are stored in this old fridge just on the street here. And there's a nice little path up to it, and people can donate books or take books out and stuff like that. I thought it was really quite cool. But I thought it would make an interesting composition, just quite a interesting sort of thing to look at, and it's surrounded by all the trees and the little path all the way up to it. So I've stopped down to think f8 on this one, so it's a bit more, so it's a bit less bokeh in the shot, but just another example of a different type of shot with this lens. So as you can see again, it's really nice and sharp. If you look at the books, if you pause the video even, you can see each little book is nice and sharp in there. And even the leaves and the trees in the background are sharp. There's a landscape shot here, and here I'm just rotating the f-stop here. I'll put it up to f11. It's a landscape shot, so I want most of it in focus as much as I can really. So I tried f11 here on this one. And again I'm zooming in with the function of the camera just to get a nice focus, so I can magnify the area I want focused in. And then with f11 most of it should be in focus, but just to be sure, not just to be on the safe side really. Again, I was blown away by the sharpness of this one. The reflections on the water there are nice and sharp. Just everything is really sharp. But the one thing I did notice with this scene, I'm just taking a panorama version of this shot now, and the one thing I did notice when taking this one is the greens are quite muted in the colours. So it might be my particular lens, or it might be this lens in general, I'm not 100% sure. So I have seen other photos with this lens and the greens seem to come out okay, so it could be the coating, it's an older lens or something, I'm not 100% sure. I thought this would be a good scene to really show off the sharpness, because there's some really nice reflections on the river here. Just the sun's bouncing off. It's early morning on this one, so the sun's just coming up still, and it's bouncing off the trees over in the distance, and it's bouncing some really cool reflections on the water with the ripples, just slight ripples on the water. I did notice the greens on this one were slightly muted again, not as much as the other one, but where the sun's hitting it, it looks great. There's some nice sharpness. This shot here is an example of the type of shot these older lenses are not so good at. That is with the glare of the sun, or any light for that matter, because they don't have any anti-glare coating, and if any of them did, they'd have tend to worn off by now. I don't know if this one used to or not, but as you can see in the shot, even in the frame on the camera here, you can see the right hand side there is completely glared out. You can't see anything. And with the modern lenses you would have like a few pointed sort of point circles where it's managing the glare, but with the older lenses you get this blown out glare. So in this shot here I actually didn't mind it too much. It adds a bit of a character, but in general they don't deal with glare that well, the older lenses. But with this shot here I just wanted to give another example of a sort of macro type shot. It's not macro, but it's a lot closer in, so it really shows off the sharpness. I'm just getting this little trickling pieces of water here just falling down, just trying to get a nice shot with that, frame it nicely with the leaves surrounding. I think I'm on f8 here. I'm trying to get a lot of sharpness in it, and it's sort of, there isn't anything in the distance that's obvious, so just trying to keep the whole frame fairly focused in. So I got some nice movement with the water as it's flowing down, and some nice sharpness of the leaves in the near the water. So I spotted a gondola on the river here, so that's one of those boats with the big oar at the back, with the guy at the back, just doing a little tour around the city here. And I think that's the type of shots that this lens would really perform well in, is people photography. So portraits or just shots with people inside them. It's because the sharpness is really nice, and it just a really nice blur to it. So if you're taking some nice portrait kind of shots with a blurry background, it's going to be a nice effect. And from what I can tell so far, the lenses, the colours are really nice on it, except with greens it tends to be a little bit muted than what I would usually have. But overall, I think it's a great little lens. It's really cheap and you get some nice results from it. So I hope you liked today's video, guys, and I appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe if you like the content on the channel. Thanks.